for the first time, this is episode 3 of the Remote Life Reinvention Show. Officially episode 3. I've had a few practice episodes. So if you want to catch the earlier episodes, you can check those out on our More Than a Wheel in Facebook page or our YouTube channel. But again, if it's your first time here, well then welcome. Again, I'm Camille Littell. I'm your host of the show. And what this is every week I go live and I talk about everything related to reinventing yourself remotely with remote work or a remote business so that you can live the remote lifestyle that you want. There has never been a more pressing time for this topic than today. Last year when I was training this, we were in a completely different type of economy and job market, and this was a hot topic then. Now, remote work and reinventing yourself remotely is even more important because, of course, COVID and the economy and everything that is coming our way really for the rest of 2020 and probably into 2021 and beyond. And so my job is to help you navigate these very turbulent times. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is a remote business. But first, I want to direct your attention to the Remote Life Reinvention Guide. I'm going to put it up on the screen here so you can see it. It's in the upper right-hand corner. And if you want to grab your copy of it, you can go to this link here, morethanawheelin.com, Remote Life Reinvention. I'll put the link in the chat after the video so you can go right to it. Download the guide because every week what I'm doing is I'm going through and walking you through the top 10 questions and answers that I get all the time about remote work and remote business. Oh, I see people jumping on. Brenda's here. Hey, Brenda, so good to see you. You've been so active lately. I love that. It's so good to see people joining and then getting right to work. So welcome. And people will be joining all along. Please don't hesitate to ask me questions. I'm here to do Q&A as well as walk you through the guide. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to get right into the business stuff. And this starts with question number 7 in the guide on page 10. And so today I'm going to cover 3 specific questions. The first one is, what if I want to start a remote business? What do I do? The next question will be, how do I actually get started with a remote business? And I'll be talking about some ideas. And finally, the last question is, what is the best type? Meaning, what should your remote business look like? What kind of model? So that's what we're going to cover today. Now, if you're more interested in remote work, either working for someone else or yourself, then go back and watch the previous episodes because I talk more about traditional type of employment that's remote in those episodes, whereas today I'm talking very specifically about starting your own remote business. Hey, Will, so good to see you. It looks like Dave is here and, oh no, they're not here. I think my virtual assistant, Nicole, is tagging some of these people so that you don't miss this. We want to make sure you're seeing this. All right. So I get this question all the time. People say, Camille, I've tried the remote work thing. I'm picking up jobs here and there, but I really need to learn how to market myself better. Or I really think I'm ready to start my own online business. I'm tired of just looking at job sites or waiting for jobs to come up, especially now when the job market is in a very turbulent time. It's a very good time to start to take control of your own remote future. And I have a strong belief that learning how to run your own remote business is one of the best ways to do that. Hey, Kathy and Vicky, so good to see you too. So glad you made it. So if you're asking yourself these questions about, should you start a remote business? How do you do that? Here's the thing I want to lead off with. If you're already thinking about this, then I really want you to lean into it. Don't listen to the fears and concerns that probably come up right after you say, am I ready to start a remote business? Or should I? Or could I? I bet the next question you have is, oh, but I've never done it. Or I don't know how. Or everyone's always thought of that idea, so I shouldn't do it. I first want you to ignore all the fears and all the concerns that likely come up. And I want you to really lean into the instinct that you have that you want to go in this direction. That's number 1. And on page 10 of the Remote Life Reinvention Guide, I talk about how when I did this, I didn't even know what I was getting into. I didn't even know enough to be scared because I was just that naive. My husband and I walked away from very long careers, very traditional careers in corporate America. I've always worked in a cubicle, or I've been a manager. So one time I had that cool corner office. So when I left all of that behind to RV full time and get into blogging, I didn't even know I was starting a business. I didn't even know what the heck I was doing. So by the time I figured out, oh my goodness, there's a lot to know, it was kind of too late. I was already in it deep, right? So in a way, that was a good experience because I didn't know enough to say, oh, that's too much work, or I can't do that. So I'm really glad I leaned into it, and I leaned into something that I knew nothing about. So where I might have some connection with you watching is I am not your typical entrepreneur who always grew up thinking I'm an entrepreneur and I should run my own business. I never thought that way. I was a tried and true, get a job, get a paycheck, and have a secure income my whole life. I am not your typical, hey, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and start a million businesses. That was never me. So this whole starting an online business, working remotely, totally new for me 4 years ago. And it was in my midlife. I was in my early 40s when I did it, which some of you watching might be a little bit older, but for me, that's a weird time to start a business. That's in my peak earning years, right? That's when I should be saving for retirement. And here I was taking this massive leap to walk away and reinvent myself with something I knew nothing about. And thank goodness I did it, because I've never been happier doing this. Now it comes with its challenges. I will say that, but if I can work through those challenges, really anybody can. So if you want to start a remote business, this is on page 10. My best advice to you is lean into it. Do it. Check it out. There is literally nothing to lose. It's very low startup costs. In some cases, you don't need to spend hardly any money at all. Really just about $100 to get started if you use some of the methods that I use. There's no overhead. You don't need to hire a team in the beginning. And there's really hardly any costs to it at all. It's very low risk. So I want to at least set the stage for you as we move into the next question, that if you're thinking this way, I want to encourage you to do it. Now let me check the chat. It looks, Carmen, you're new to me. I'm about to start living in my schoolie on the road and want this very much. I love that. I love that you're taking that kind of leap. That's very courageous. A schoolie is super cool. So yes, lean into it. I want you to really go for it. It's a really good time. You're already reinventing yourself in this new lifestyle. You might as well look into some remote businesses. Let's see. Let's get back into the, this is the link for the remote work guide. Now let's take a look at page 11. And the question here is, how do I actually get started with a remote business? Well, I want to answer this question by telling you what not to do, because what most people do, and this is what trips them up, is most people start a website. And that is really not what you want to do. And I know that might be shocking for some people because it seems like the thing to do. Most people say, I need a website if I'm going to start a business, and I need a brand. This is two things people think they need to do. Those are like the last two things you need to do. Instead, what you need to do is you need to figure out, using your own skill sets and your own interests, what are the things that appeal to you? And I've got some exercises that I'm going to be training to you in the coming weeks to help you understand, what are you really good at? How can you create a type of business around that? And what does the marketplace want from you? So you're really combining what you're good at, what you like, and what the marketplace needs from you. I actually have a visual on this I'll show you in the coming weeks. That's what you want to do first. And then you want to take those skills and you want to go test the marketplace to see if people are interested in what you have to offer. And then you're also testing your pricing. And so that's what you want to do. You do not want to build a website. You don't want to start blogging. Don't go start a YouTube channel. Don't build anything online until you test what you want to do. Now, let me look at the chat. I see a wheel here. That's awesome. Let's see. I'm seeing other people jumping on here. So Brenda says you're an online music teacher. Hey, Brenda, my dad, if you go back and watch last week's, my dad is a music teacher, but he was driving to the students' homes to do the teaching. And when COVID hit, he couldn't do that anymore. And he got on a call with me, and we talked about how he could take his business online. And now today he's 100% remote. And I'm so proud of him, and I'm so excited for him at 77 years old to do something so radical as to reinvent yourself online at that age is really, really cool. All right, it looks like people are sharing my link. I love that. I bet that's Nicole or Reed. Thank you. Now, I'm getting a question from Olive. Welcome, Olive. What kind of remote art music opportunities are out there? Olive, you ask a very good question. I'm going to lead into that in this next question. Carmen says, I'm 69. Good for you. You are on fire, Carmen. I love it. So let's talk about music. This seems to be a hot topic, and I think this can relate to some of the other things. Literally anything that you do as a hobby, just about everything, can be done in an online space. Now, on page 11, I list some very specific ideas. These are real businesses from real people. Let me list them for you. I have a student that does dog massage. She used to do it in person, and now she does it online. I know. How do you do dog massage online? It's super cool. She's got these really great techniques and ways that she can help dog owners do it online. She does it all through Zoom. Quilting. I know lots. This is like the weirdest business right now that is booming. Teaching people how to quilt online. It's like, who even came up with that, right? But that works. Helping kids with homework. I have a student in one of my courses that is what she teaches, is helping parents teach their kids in the home because, of course, kids are staying home right now. Cat grooming. What? How is cat grooming an online business? Well, I know a woman who has a certification course that teaches cat groomers how to actually use her cat grooming techniques online, all through Zoom. Architecture design. In fact, Will is here today. This is what Will does. And he does this entirely online. RV repairs. I know several people that do RV repairs in person, but then they also offer some online consulting or even some online pre-recorded teaching. So what I really want to do with these ideas is help you understand how you can take a hobby or something you already know how to do and reimagine it for the remote space. And I'm telling you, almost everything can have some kind of remote offer to it. Now, let's take something that's difficult. Massage, right? I used to go and get massages all the time. Well, obviously, someone can't massage me remotely, right? However, they can teach me some self-care techniques on Zoom or things that I can do to alleviate shoulder pain and things like that. In fact, I have a student who does that very thing. So again, I'm giving you these ideas so you can start thinking about how might you get started with some of the things that you like to do. So let me check the chat again. Let's see. Oh, Brenda, you are answering Olive's question. You're a bookkeeper. Gotcha. Okay, wonderful. Oh, bookkeeping. You could absolutely do that online. That is a very, very hot remote job, in fact. So I'm glad that you're in remote work school because you will hopefully be finding a lot of those jobs. Let me know. So I want to take you to page number 12. And the question here is, what type of business is best remotely, meaning the model, because there's a lot of different models. For example, lots of people start off with doing one-on-one coaching or consulting, and that is really one of the easiest things to do when you're just getting started. Actually, let's see if, so Will, here's Will, he does architecture design, love that. So and Will, I'm curious, do you do that one-on-one? Are you getting on consulting calls? Are you doing like a group thing? I'm curious what the model is for you, but that's a very popular model and a very easy one to get started with. Now, there are other types of things you can do where you can really specialize, like really niche in, for example, web design or being a virtual assistant or doing social media support, or like Deborah's doing, being a bookkeeper. Deborah, can you niche that down even further? Can you be a bookkeeper for a specific kind of business or a specific kind of books? The more specific you can be, believe it or not, the more you can open up your marketplace. So I want to see if we can get you to niche down. Now, Will says he does one-on-one services. Good for you. Have you thought about maybe branching out and doing one-to-many or doing some kind of groups. And the reason why I bring that up, Will, and anyone else watching, is because the more you can leverage your time, the more money you can make and the more freedom you can have, right? Just like I'm doing right now. I'm doing a one-to-many model. Now, you're not live with me. I can't hear you or see you, but I can certainly see your questions in the chat, right? Okay, someone just said they are a caregiver. Let me go look at that. Where was that question? I want to make sure I get to that. I'm a caregiver. Can that work online? It depends. In fact, here, let's put this up. It depends on what kind of caregiving you do. Now, one thing you could think about is if you're working with a family, can you do some type of caregiving consulting online with the family? Can you meet with the family on Zoom who would then be administering caregiving? That's a possibility. Could you also get online with your client or the person you're giving caregiving to and talk to them about self-care? So the idea here is to think about how can you reinvent some of the things you're already doing? It might look a little different in the remote world, but it doesn't mean that it's any less valuable. In fact, in some cases, it's more valuable. When you think about my dad who teaches flute online now, what's more valuable about that is he doesn't have to drive anywhere. He doesn't have to go to anybody's house, right? So he doesn't have to be exposed to COVID or potentially expose someone else to COVID. His student can just jump online with him right there. It saves tons of time. In some cases, it's just easier for people. They don't have to deal with someone in person. It's just, you know, different strokes for different folks. There's pros and cons. But again, the idea is, can you reinvent your services online? All right, so let's see, maybe sewing teacher. I love this idea, Carmen. Yes, this is just like my quilting example I talked about just a few minutes ago. Absolutely, you can do sewing online. In fact, this is a little bit different than what I'm talking about today, but I have a friend who actually has a shop online where she makes very simple blankets and she can make them in bulk and then sell them. So that's a little bit more of an e-commerce idea. But again, all of these ideas are up for grabs, right? All right, Kathy says, I can't imagine, let's look at this one. I can't imagine how to use my skills of 33 years in customer relations for a major airline. I work remotely, but how can I reinvent myself to work for myself? Kathy, let me say this. You have 33 years in customer relations. You are very, very skilled. There are so many skills within that umbrella. So in customer relations, you're probably good with public relations, probably some marketing, probably some sort of communications, probably you're really good at conveying a message to all levels of an organization. You are very, very skilled. So it really boils down to doing some of the activities that I'll be doing in the future sessions and nailing down the skills that you really do best and that you like. And then we take them into the marketplace to see how can you reinvent yourself in new ways. But I'm telling you, if you've got 33 skills in customer relations, there are so many avenues you can take. It's a matter of what do you like best? And of course, what can bring in the income? All right, here, let me get back to my, business model. So I talked about coaching and consulting. I talked about specialty services. Here's another one that's really hot: online courses, programs, summits, and events. So online summits, courses, and events, this of course was already hot. Then COVID hit and it just went bananas. I mean, this is a place to be. Doing your own online course is a really good idea. Doing some sort of a program or some kind of an online summit where you're speaking with other people, or just an event like I'm doing right now. Now, I'm doing a free event right now, but you could certainly charge for these, as I charge in my program later. But for this one, I'm doing this for free because I'm just giving people a taste of some of the things that I offer. Another one is membership sites or monthly subscription programs. So let's take the sewing example that Carmen had. Let's say, Carmen, you want to do some kind of sewing membership online. Maybe every month you're offering some new patterns, or you're offering some new sewing techniques, or maybe you're sending someone a little package of fun buttons. There's just so many fun, creative ways you can do this, and that's a way to have a membership site. Again, I mentioned this earlier, you could do e-commerce. That's another idea. You could do ebooks and other digital products. In fact, this book here that I'm reading from is an ebook that now, again, I'm doing this one for free, but you can certainly charge for these things. And then lastly, blogging is another great way to get started. So again, I'm just giving you some ideas. Today isn't meant to give you a specific path, because to give you a specific path, I'd have to know a little bit more about your situation, what you like, what kind of lifestyle you want to live, but I definitely want to plant the seeds for you. But there are so many possibilities. And again, you can, excuse me, you can find all of this on page 12 in the guide. Woo, I'm moving fast today. Let me get some water. So that is what today is all about. Just planting some seeds for you for some online business ideas. Next week, I'll be talking more about this, and I'll be giving you some more ideas about online businesses, remote businesses, and I'll be talking very specifically about how much you can charge. I'll be getting into the money and the pricing and how quickly or how soon you can expect to be making money from a remote business. So that's what I'll be doing next week. So let me check the chat one more time. Excuse me. Okay, Olive says, I'm a DJ, an electronic musician and educator. Wow, I love that. I've definitely run into a lot of issues with copyright when I perform. Yeah, I'm not sure how to transform this into something I could utilize for remote work. Any ideas? So Olive, I don't know what kind of music you play, but I know that there are tons of royalty-free music. There are lots of paid music platforms. So I think you'll have to do a little bit of research to see if there are some places you can get some music that you can play in a remote space. People do this all the time, Carmen. Are you seeing, or Olive, I mean, are you seeing how many people are throwing remote parties and having remote concerts? So this is very hot right now. I think for you, it boils down to finding the right either royalty-free music, or you might have to pay to actually play some of the music that you're paying. I don't work in this space, so it's a little harder for me to give you a very specific answer on that, but I know it's possible because people are doing it all the time. All right, I think that's it for the questions today, but if you're catching this in the replay, you can always drop your question in the chat. I will always go in and answer it afterward, and then you can grab that remote life reinvention guide if you don't already have it yet, because everything I talked about today is in that guide. Next week, I'll be talking more about remote business, and then the week after that, I've got a very, very special 1-hour training for you where we will take a deep dive to help you understand your skills and your strengths and what to charge and all that good stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Oh, you buy all the music you play. Yeah, I figured you did, but you're still running into some copyright issues. Interesting. Let me look into this. I actually have a contact on this, Olive. I am going to reach out to my network, and I'm going to see if I can get more specific answers for you. What I'd like you to do is continue writing me here in on this particular live today so that I can stay in contact with you and learn more about your situation. Okay, Jennifer says, I'm working through your Remote Work 101 course. It seems that becoming computer savvy in terms of organization is a huge issue. Is that, or do you have any ideas? So Jennifer, I think it depends. Some people will tell you that staying organized and being computer savvy is an issue. And some people will say it's not an issue for them. And it just depends on your skill set. Now, I will share with you that personally, I struggle. If I'm being really honest, I struggle with technology. I struggle with staying organized, and it's a skill I've had to develop. It really is. I am much more suited for things like in-person trainings. I'm more about relationship building and talking and connecting. And so all this computer stuff is challenging for me, if I'm being really honest. But that should show you that if I can do it, it is doable, because it is one of the hardest parts of the job for me. But in terms of giving you any ideas, I would say that you might need to use a little bit of project management tools. And one of the easiest things you could use is something called Trello. or Asana. These are two project management tools. I use them all the time. In fact, maybe what I'll do is I'll demonstrate that in a future lesson. And I use them to keep track of, my day and what kind of technology I'm using and who I need to talk to. And I communicate with my virtual assistants in those technologies. So check out Trello or Asana. They're both free, and I think that they might help you get organized. All right, let's see. A few more comments are coming in, it looks like. But I don't see them yet, so that's okay. Oh, I see a little red check here, but I don't see the comment. Olive says Trello is great. Good, I'm so glad. All right, I think, how do you find people to sell to? Ooh, Carmen, yes. I'm gonna answer this next week, but if you want the answer before next week, it's on page, it's question number 10 in the Remote Life Reinvention Guide. So go download that if you don't have it and go check that out, because I am going to talk more about how do you reach out to people, how do you find people that want your stuff, things like that. Okay, Jennifer says, also, do you think it is best to learn programs like Word, Excel, Google Docs, Sheets? Is it best to learn via an actual tech school or from YouTube? Okay, Jennifer, let me make this as easy as I can. Only learn the tools. In fact, let me put only learn the tools that you need for the job that you want to do. So for example, let's take bookkeeping like Deborah talked about. Let's say you're gonna do bookkeeping. Only learn the tools that you would need for that job. And so for those tools, maybe it's PayPal or one of the online bookkeeping tools, or maybe it's Trello to stay organized, or Excel, let's say, but don't overdo it and try to learn everything, but learn just enough of the tools to apply to the jobs that you want. So in a couple of episodes ago, I talked about how someone was really interested in a project management job, but they didn't know the project management tool. And I said, just go take a free tutorial, sign up for the software, take a free tutorial and learn it enough to say that you have experience with it. But definitely don't overwhelm yourself by trying to learn everything. It is not needed. I will say that knowing something like Google Drive is a good thing to know because everybody uses it. So if you can just get started with Google Drive now and a little bit of like Google Sheets or Google Docs, that's enough to get going. I hope that helps you. Scroll up to see, is it Winoka? Is that your name? I love that name. Winoka? Let's see. Let's see here. I'm looking for your comment. How about? I don't know what that is. So shoot, maybe you can type your question again because I'm not finding it for whatever reason. Oh, Allie is here. Lovely. Okay, Allie says, I'm a paralegal. I would need solid internet, and that seems to be the hardest thing. When I was working remotely, the terrible Wi-Fi made things worse. I only was happy when I had access to free computers. Okay, Allie, here's the bottom line. You need to get your own internet. If you're relying on the Wi-Fi, well then yeah, it's going to be very hard to work remotely. I do not rely on any Wi-Fi. I don't rely on RV park Wi-Fi. Sometimes I go to the library, but I actually own my own internet. In fact, let me show you real quick. Just for those of you, I had this present. I'm not recommending this product. This is a Verizon Jetpack, but this is one product I own that has all my own internet. Here's another thing I use, my phone. I use my phone because it's a hotspot. So I would encourage you, Allie, to look into getting your own internet because Wi-Fi is gonna be a challenge. Sometimes it's great, but a lot of times you just can't depend on it. Look, 90% of the time, my internet is fine. And I do some of the most complex remote business online you can do. Look at what I'm doing right now. This is very complicated. And generally speaking, it's working. Now there's a little bit of a delay, I get that. But overall, I can do the job. All right, let's see, Winoka. Good, what a beautiful name. You retyped the question. Here it is. How about massage therapist, massage instruction and Reiki? That is what I'm used to doing, but I'm also open to changing it up. Okay, so Winoka, I have a student who does energy work, energy healing, and used to do it physically, like with, not massage, but something similar to acupressure actually is what he did. And so he had to reinvent what he was doing remotely. And one of the ways he did that was doing color therapy online. That way he can still do the energy work, but he doesn't have to actually put his hands on you to do it. Now, I know a little bit about Reiki, and I know that when you do it, you don't actually have to touch someone. What I don't know is, could that work remotely? You have to tell me, could you do that kind of work remotely? Or could you maybe reinvent it to have it be more energy work, where the person does their more self-care or more energy work on themselves? Wow, I'm talking a lot about self-care today. I think it's because I've been doing a lot of self-care on myself lately and realizing that I've got to find more ways to do this now that I can't get a massage anywhere. So I hope that, Winoka, that helps you. I think you need to reimagine your skills and how you could offer up that type of healing or self-care or therapeutic guidance in a remote world. So I'm hoping that that gives you some ideas. All right. Oh, wow. We are at the top of the hour. So look at that. 30 full minutes today. Thank you so much for joining. These were some really, really great questions. I love it. Keep them coming. I'll keep answering them. Oh, one more just came in. Do you have a certain location that seems to work really well for you? I want to be by the ocean for a few months, don't we all? Out of the year and work from there. Allie, I've worked everywhere. I've worked next to oceans and mountains. I've worked in Thailand and Vietnam and Cambodia. And right now I'm working from LA, and I've worked in 43 different states. So everything works. It just depends on where you want to go. And it boils down to, you must have your own internet. I think that when I read your question, that's probably the biggest issue you're having, is you're too dependent on public Wi-Fi. And that is not going to be a good long-term solution for you. Carmen, you are so welcome. She says, thank you so much. You are so welcome. You guys, this was fantastic. Thank you so much. Oh, Vicky says, thank you for the inspiration. You are so welcome, my friend. Good to see you. One last time, just to put that link up, if you don't have the guide, we've got the remote life reinvention. So thank you again. I will see you next week, where we will talk more about when you can start making money in your remote business. And then, of course, we will have a big meaty training the week after that. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.